Check 1 2, check 1 2. Welcome everybody to XL Energy Center. We're just about ready to get underway with our pregame festivities before the Rochester Nighthawks take on the Minnesota Swarm. One team looking to make a playoff bid tonight. The other team trying to just make the playoffs. It's Minnesota and Rochester, and it's coming up next on the B2 Networks.
For me? Yep.
Right above you, I can hear your music playing.
Excellent. Do you have times too? Okay, no problem. Just give me a holler when you got it. Everything is great.
Oh my darling, not 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. Twice on the pipe. If the answer is no, oh my sweetness means you'll meet me in the hallway. Whoa, twice on the pipe means you ain't gonna show. If you look out your window tonight, pulling the string with the note that's attached to my heart. Read how many times I saw you, how in my silence I adored you.
2 seconds.
And only in my dreams did that wall between us come apart.
Number 7, Dan Moreau. Number 8, Rory McDade. Number 9, Craig Point. Number 12, Eric Pacey. Number 16, Noah Talbot. Number 17, Sean Pollock. Number 21, Andy Secor. Number 23, John Sullivan. Hailing out of Apple Valley, Minnesota, number 27, Colin Achenbach. Goalie, number 31, Kevin Croswell. Number 34, Nick Inch. And number 44, Ryan Ward.
Introducing your 5 runners. Number 19, Chad Colt. Number 20, Kyle Ross. Number 26, Ryan Sharp. Number 47, Travis Hill. And captain, number 50, Ryan Cousins. Minnesota Swarm assistant coaches are Derek Moffitt and Mike Lyons. Head coach is Dwayne Jacobs. One more time, let's hear it for those Minnesota Swarm. Fans, now let's meet the starting lineup for tonight's opponent, the Rochester Nighthawks, who drove straight up Highway 52 to get here. Head coach of the Nighthawks, Ed Como. Starting lineup for the Nighthawks. In goal, number 39, Pat O'Toole. Runners are number 2, Chris Schiller. Number 5, Sandy Chapman. Number 18, Jack Reed. Number 20, Bill Greer. And number 23, Stephen Hoare. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please remain standing. Gentlemen, please remove your caps. As the Metropolitan Boys Choir
Cool, thank you.
leads us in the singing of our national anthem.
Okay.
Tonight at St. Paul's XL Energy Center, one team is fighting for first place in the Eastern Division. The other is looking up, trying to make the fourth and final playoff spot in the East. Minnesota opens up the night perfect at home, 6-0, while outscoring their opponents 81-58. That makes for an uphill climb for the number 5 seed in the East, Rochester Nighthawks, who are 3-3 on the road and a full game back of fourth place New York for the last playoff spot. If Rochester wants to make the playoffs, they must win tonight. The playoffs are just about set. It's Minnesota taking on Rochester, and it's right now on the B2 networks. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm running the show solo tonight for the next 2.5 hours. Marcus D, glad to be with you. It's playoff atmosphere here at XL Energy Center. A win tonight, and Minnesota has a spot in the postseason. Rochester with a loss tonight will be more than likely out with just one game remaining next week against the New York Titans. A win and Minnesota's in, a loss for Rochester and they are out. However, if Rochester wins and New York loses, they will have identical records at 8-7. Rochester with one more game taking on, guess who? The New York Titans next week. That would be a fun one. If New York loses tonight and Rochester wins tonight, we'll have a tie for the fourth and final playoff spot in the East, and we'll keep you updated on the score of the game over in Philadelphia tonight. The Titans are visiting the Wings. It's in pregame now. They haven't started yet. But we'll keep you abreast of that situation, as a win here tonight for Rochester and a loss for New York will have them tied for the last playoff spot in the Eastern Division. What a matchup we have here tonight. Both teams dynamically different starting off the season. Minnesota 6-0. Rochester struggled to start the year, and they meet up at XL Energy Center for the second time this season. The first on the road at the X for Rochester. The face-off is off the ground, and we are underway here from St. Paul's XL Energy Center. Carrying the cradle in the near corner is Sean Evans, and we'll be talking about him and his brother combination of Scott Evans a lot throughout this game, and he gives way to his brother, and now behind the goal. Trying the Superman goal from behind the net was John Grant, and he can't connect on the goal, and Minnesota loves to run transition. We'll see how the Rochester defense can counteract. Ryan Sharp's shot gets poked off his stick, and the loose ball comes into the corner. You saw John Grant with the shot from behind Nick Patterson. John Grant finished the season last year as the 2007 National Lacrosse League MVP. We'll be saying his name a lot tonight as well. One of the most prolific scorers in the National Lacrosse League. In fact, he is second in points with 43 goals and 43 assists. 86 points for Mr. John Grant, only second to the man who set the record for the most goals scored in a single season last week against Minnesota, Ethan Iannucci for the Philadelphia Wings. So both teams have had one offensive series. No one has connected on the score. We'll update you on the time and the score, as you cannot see it on your screen. And this is older brother Scott Evans with the ball. Flings a cross-field pass. John Grant carries it right-hand stick. Across the field, right out in front of Nick Patterson was Sean Evans, who has 20 goals on the season, but the goal miner for Minnesota, Stone Coals on that shot. 13-16 to go in the first quarter. No one has scored. Rochester the only shot in this young contest. Oh, an inside pass, errant off the backboards, but Craig Point able to get it back, and now out to McDade. Cutting in the middle, backhanded shot, and Minnesota strikes first. Dan Moreau, the man who tied the game to send it to overtime against the Philadelphia Wings just a week ago with a second and a half left in the fourth quarter, gives Minnesota an early 1-0 lead.
There by number 7, Dan Moreau. Watch this. It was a behind-the-back goal. It might be easy for you and me to go straight forward, but Moreau going backwards, backdoor, Swarm with a 1-0 lead.
Scoring for Minnesota, number 7, Dan Moreau. Assist to number 8, Rory McDade, and number 9, Greg Point. 7-8-9 on the goal scoring. Swarm up 1-0.
So Dan Moreau, who came over earlier this season as Scott Evans, puts one right past Nick Patterson, and one of the best goalies in the National Lacrosse League, Nick Patterson, appears to be shaken up. A shot that hit Patterson and trickled between his legs. Scott Evans scores his 39th goal of the season, and this game is tied at 1. Nick Patterson on his back now.
Evans assist to number 2, Chris Schiller, and number 20, Bill Greer.
Well, as the trainers attend to Nick Patterson, we haven't even talked about the goalie matchup yet tonight. What a fantastic matchup we have. Two of the best goal minders in the National Lacrosse League, and every Minnesota fan and player holding their collective breaths because Nick Patterson appears to be shaken up. He's now rolled over onto his knees and stands up under his own power, so he is okay. Nick Patterson a bit shaken up. One of the best goaltenders in all of the National Lacrosse League, leads all goalies with saves at 498. He's also first in wins. He's got a record of 9-3, a goal against average of 12.05, and a save percentage of 77. 5'11", 185 from Vancouver, British Columbia. Nick Patterson appears to be okay, and we're back underway. 12:22 to go in this first quarter as Scott Evans scores his 39th goal of the regular season to tie this game at 1, and Rory McDade has it on the near circle. Again, Rochester playing for their playoff lives tonight. Rebound off the backboards, and Patrick O'Toole right on cue. Mr. O'Toole, third in the NLL in saves behind Nick Patterson and San Jose's Anthony Cosmo. He has 475 saves. One behind him is Patrick O'Toole coming into tonight's contest with 474. A 7-5 record, a goal against average, the best in the National Lacrosse League at 10.68. And Minnesota steals the ball back with 11:37 to go in the first, still tied at 1. 6 feet, 220 pounds from Toronto, Ontario. The defensive player of the week in last week, Patrick O'Toole, has seen 2 shots from Minnesota and stopped 1. Nick Patterson seen 3, stopped 1, or 2 rather, and it's 1-1. So keep an eye on these 2 goalies tonight, 2 veterans of the game, going head-to-head on opposite ends of the field at XL Energy Center tonight. As Minnesota gets called for a shot clock violation, and Sandy Chapman, one of the defensemen for Rochester, tries to transition that play, but he's brought back to his own zone, and we'll get back underway. 11:05 to go in the first quarter. We're tied up at 1. Now, we mentioned with a win here tonight, Minnesota will clinch a playoff position, but they won't clinch the East unless they get some help. Minnesota with a win tonight. As Rochester turns over the ball, Scott Evans gets nailed from behind by Eric Pacey. And that'll be our first penalty of the game. There you see Scott Evans walking away, getting hit from behind by Eric Pacey. 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points on the season for Eric Pacey, the 6'2", 212 defenseman from Toronto. Gets the first penalty of the game. There you take another look at it. Nails Scott Evans to the floor. And so Minnesota will be a man down for 2 minutes, the first penalty of this game. John Grant, last year's MVP, second in the NLL in points, just lines one up. Left-handed shot that caroms almost into the second level at XL Energy Center. Good stop by Nick Patterson there. 1:44 to go on the penalty. 10:33 is the time left in the first quarter, and it's a 1-1 ball game. Inside, almost a bounce shot past Patterson by Ken Mullen, but John Grant pulls the rebound away in between the blue line, or in between the lines rather. I'm thinking hockey. I got Minnesota Wild on the brain. They actually play later on tonight. Game 7 as Scott Evans scores again. Scott Evans with his 40th goal of the season from Peterborough, Ontario, gives Rochester a 2-1 lead.
Scoring for Rochester. Number 19, Scott Evans. Assists go to number 51, Sean Williams, and number 32, Ken Millen. That goal frees Pacey from the box.
So Scott Evans, the second leading scorer on the Rochester Nighthawks, now with 40 goals. And he gives Rochester a 2-1 lead with 10:13 to go in this first quarter. And Nick Patterson, the overall saves leader for goaltenders in the National Lacrosse League, is clearly shaken up. After that goal, he took a knee once more. Trainers came out to attend. He's back on his feet now and still under net, but clearly Nick Patterson has something wrong with him physically, as he has taken a knee now twice. And we're only at 5 minutes into this first quarter. So Rochester leads 2-1, fighting for their playoff lives in the Eastern Division. As Andy Secor, the team leader in points, takes the ball and gets it knocked out of his cradle in the near corner, and a scrum has it. with Kyle Ross poking it away along with Chris Schiller and I believe Bill Greer. And finally, Greer comes away with it for Rochester as Minnesota gets called for a shot clock violation. Well, we didn't even get to mention the power play or the penalty kill for either team, but we'll have to do that when we come back because there's the timeout on the floor. There's 9 minutes and 37 seconds left in the first quarter. Rochester opens up a quick 2-1 lead. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
Swarm Fans Super Shuttle is the official ground transportation provider for the Minnesota Swarm. Shuttles and staff available 24 hours a day, providing ground transportation service throughout Twin Cities metropolitan area and Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. From your home, business, or hotel, Super Shuttle is your safe and economical way to and fro the airport. Fans on your way out of the arena, remember, pick up your $2 reusable discount coupon, good only with Super Shuttle. This game brought to you by Reebok. Reebok, proud to be the official supplier of equipment, uniforms, footwear, and apparel of the NLL. Visit your local North Star lacrosse store to find the latest Reebok lacrosse gear.
.9:37 to go in the first. Rochester opens up a quick 2-1 lead. As we mentioned before the break, that goal scored by Scott Evans, his 40th of the season. It was a power play goal, which gives the Rochester Nighthawks 40 power play goals on the season, tying them for 4th in the National Lacrosse League in power play goals. Minnesota, before that goal, as another goal is scored against Nick Patterson over his left shoulder, finding the corner is Sean Evans, but they wave the goal off.
At the time of the goal, no goal.
Take another look. Sean Evans right past the left shoulder of Patterson, but they call it off as Sean Williams' foot was in the crease. So a lucky break there for Minnesota as they keep this game a 1-goal deficit at 2-1 with now 8 minutes and some change left. Ryan Ward works his way around the defense, takes a shot from the slot, and the long rebound comes out to Chris Schiller. Up ahead, Steve Toll, leader in loose balls in the National Lacrosse League. Rather, he's third, and he can't connect on his shot, but he gets a fresh shot clock as Sean Williams has the ball and knocked out of his stick. Getting it back on the far circle is Williams, and they'll set up their offense. 8:32 to go in the first, 2-1. Rochester leads. Laser shot wide, picked up by Rochester. Rebound comes into the net. Off that shot attempt by Sean Williams. And Nick Patterson scoops that one up. Rochester all over shots on goal so far here in the first. 8 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, only 2 for the Swarm. Both these teams prolific in scoring, averaging over 11 goals per game. And right on cue, the man who got the game-winning goal in overtime against Philadelphia just a week ago ties this game at 2. Sean Pollock scores his 21st of the season.
Sean Pollock has made a career out of taking care of business against the Nighthawks. He scored the overtime winner in Rochester. And Polly, with his 21st goal of the year, Rusty, pulling the Swarm within 1.
Pollock picks up the goal assist to number 19, Chad Culp, and 21, Andy Secor.
So you heard the professor, Howard Green. He'll be working the sidelines for us, and PA announcer Rusty Kath mentioned that Sean Pollock got the game-winning goal against the Rochester Nighthawks back when they last played in February, making it an 18-17 win for Minnesota and keeping their perfect 6-0 start to the season. As Minnesota has a shot clock violation, and Rochester will come away with the ball. This game tied at 2, 7:26 left in the first. Shots on goal 8 for the Nighthawks, only 3 for Minnesota. But the scoreboard says it's tied as Scott Evans works it against the man-to-man. Screen and roll with Matt McLeod coming over. Scott Evans rather, Shot goes wide, loose ball goes into the Minnesota bench, and that'll be a turnover against Rochester. Well, we mentioned the two brothers, Sean and Scott Evans. Sean is younger than Mr. Scott Evans by 5 years, but both of them prolific on this offense for the Nighthawks. They make up 33% of Rochester's scoring, combining for 58 of the team's total 175 goals. 58 goals of the team's 175, and no rebound there for Patrick O'Toole, efficient with the cradle, and he gets it up ahead. 33% of the scoring for Rochester this season comes by way of the Evans brothers. They also combined for 63 assists and 121 points for these Nighthawks. So a fantastic brother combination. And we've already seen older brother Scott score his 39th and 40th goals of the season as John Grant gets tripped up. And now he's trying to just hold on to the ball for dear life as the shot clock runs out against Rochester. And that will be Minnesota ball with 6:13 to play. This game is tied at 2. Shots on goal favor the Nighthawks by 5, 9-4. Minnesota enters tonight's contest a perfect 6-0 at home. 2 overtime wins as Andy Secor works his way around the defense of Pat Kugavin, but his shot goes caroming into the net above the glass here at XL Energy Center, so that'll be a turnover. Rochester will have it with just under 6 minutes to play. This game knotted up at 2. Well, we mentioned before, Minnesota will be in the playoffs tonight with a win. Scott Evans working against Pacey. Now he's double teamed. They switch off. Scott to his brother Sean, and a good save by Nick Patterson. Sweeping to his left. Makes the left shoulder save. And younger brother Sean has yet to score a goal in tonight's contest. On the season, 20 goals, 34 assists for the young man from Peterborough, Ontario. But he can't connect there as Rory McDade now has it for Minnesota. Well, we mentioned it before that shot by Sean Evans, that Minnesota will be in the playoffs with a win tonight. However, they can clinch the Eastern Division tonight as well, but they need some help from outside sources. If Minnesota wins tonight and Philadelphia and Buffalo both lose tonight, Minnesota will clinch first place in the Eastern Division for the first time in their 3-year franchise history. The only time they've ever missed the playoffs was back in 2005. Sean Evans hits the dirt, and Nick Patterson scoops up the loose ball for Minnesota. 4:36 to go in the first. Game knotted up at 2. John Sullivan transition for Minnesota. Up the near side, 4-on-3. Chad Culp around the defense, left-handed shot. Loose ball rebound to Sullivan. Minnesota has been to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. Both seasons losing in the first round to Buffalo. So to clinch the Eastern Division with a win here tonight as Secor just scoops it into the corner. And a shot clock violation against Minnesota. Turns the ball over to Rochester. And there's a break in the action. So we'll talk more playoff lacrosse when we come back. 4 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the first quarter. Tied at 2 at XL Energy Center. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
Right on. I would have been an even bigger loser in the 70s. Hey folks, B2 Networks is the official 8-track, broadband broadcaster of the NLL. This year, you can choose between B2 Power Play, Season Pass, or watch on a game-by-game basis. Just because you can't get to the arena doesn't mean you have to miss the skinny. Watch every game live on NLL.com. Yeah, the Cubs were terrible in the 70s as well, so that's still not the fun. And when we had a Hawaiian night? That's not actually a team. That's just a group of kids who love wild cats.
The referees are done checking the equipment. One stick from each team just to see if they're regulation approved, and they are. Sean Williams will have it for Rochester as we continue the first quarter. 4 minutes rather, and 3 seconds to go here in the first. Shots on goal favor the Nighthawks 10-4, but the score is knotted up at 2 as Scott Evans works it inside to Matt Lyons, and Nick Patterson gets it up ahead for Noah Talbot. So far tonight, Rochester has keyed in on their transition defense against the prolific, fast-paced offense of Minnesota. And they've held Minnesota to just 2 goals here in the first quarter. Secor works it around the defense, and he's pushed from behind. Sails into the crease, knocking Patrick O'Toole to the floor. But if you're 6 feet, 220 pounds, and the defensive player of the week a week ago, I think you can handle a couple hits. He does right there. He's back standing, and Rochester has the ball, working it with Sean Evans. Crossfield pass, now they work it inside. Left-handed shot by Grant, looking for his 44th goal of the season. Can't connect. Minnesota comes away with it. Kyle Ross, just over 3 minutes to play here in the first. And Ryan Sharp has it along the near side. Works it in the middle, lines it up. Over the crossbar, loose ball picked up by Schiller, knocked off his stick, and it's carrying into the far corner. Schiller along with Sharp. 3 swarm, and entering the mix is Reggie Thorpe. They swing it out in front, but good defense there by Sandy Chapman to knock it away from Ryan Sharp. Back comes the transition of Chapman. Swings it into the corner, crossfield pass, and Patterson stands tall. Good shot attempt by John Grant. And Minnesota has a 2-on-1 the other way. Inside, it goes off the crossbar. That shot by Ryan Ward goes off the post. Right in the corner by the crossbar and the post where they connect. And Ryan Ward cannot connect on his team-leading 29th goal of the season, as Scott Evans gets stonewalled once again by Nick Patterson. Frenetic pace here in the first quarter, exactly 2 minutes to play. The game is tied at 2. Shots on goal, 14 for Nighthawks, only 4 for Minnesota. Make it 5 as Patrick O'Toole makes that save, and the long rebound in between the blue circles, or blue line. Andy Secor had it. Now they work it over to Dan Marole on the far side. In the slot, Ryan Ward, and Secor has it. Chad Culp hampered by Steve Toll, who's 3rd in the league in loose balls. Marole with a left-handed shot, and he finds the corner. Dan Marole gives Minnesota back the lead, 3-2 with 1:28 to play in the first.
How about his Swarm fans in the game of lacrosse? The ball can travel about 100 miles an hour. Coming off of the stick of Dan Marole. Marole's 2nd goal of the night. And look at Pat O'Toole. Used him like a tool, Rusty. Swarm take the lead for the first time tonight, 3-2.
The professor bringing down the spot. Ladies and gentlemen, that goal for Minnesota. Scored by 7, Dan Marole. Assist goes to number 17, Sean Pollock. Number 19, Chad Culp. Swarm take the lead.
Well, Dan Marole, before tonight, as Patrick O'Toole makes the save, only had 1 goal with Minnesota. That was the game-tying goal just a week ago to send the contest against Philadelphia into overtime. Well, he's already got 2 here tonight. He comes by way of Philadelphia. That's his 5th goal of the season, and it gives Minnesota a 3-2 lead with 49 seconds to go in the first. Sean Williams has it, sticks the stick in his left hand, gives it up to Matt McLeod, and Nick Patterson makes the save. Well, we mentioned this goalie matchup tonight. 1st and 2nd in the National Lacrosse League in minutes played. Patrick O'Toole leads with 769 minutes. Nick Patterson right behind him with 695, and I will assume that both goalies, pending injury, as we saw with Nick Patterson earlier, scoop shot, no good, rebound out in between the lines, and it's scooped up there by Rochester's Bill Greer with 14.5 seconds to play. And Ed Camo, the Rochester head coach and the 2007 Coach of the Year, wants a timeout before the final shot of the first quarter. So we'll take a break and come back. 14 and a half seconds left in the first. Minnesota takes the lead 3-2. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
That encourages disco dancing. That's why we got rid of the waving cam. Yes, move it. Yeah, there it is. That's classic disco move, old scratch of the oblique. Yes, sir. Oddly enough, they didn't even realize that it was 70s night tonight.
Welcome back. No, folks, you will not see any old school Ford Thunderbirds or bell bottoms if you look outside your window right now. It is 70s night here at XL Energy Center. Fans having a little fun as Nick Patterson takes that slap shot right to the helmet. It caroms into the netting behind the goalie, and the Rochester Nighthawks will have it back. 2 seconds left, and almost a goal by Sean Evans to try and tie this game at 3. Pristine passing by the Nighthawks, but Patterson stands tall, and that's how the first quarter comes to a close. 3-2, Minnesota leads. They win and they're in. Rochester must win to keep their playoff hopes alive. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
Yeah. You know we had to do it right. We gonna take this R&B classic and flip it to B5 way. Good looking out on the track, French. Let's go. Yeah. Come on, come on. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Let's go. Big 5. Gonna do it tonight. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Let's move. Stand up.
Gonna tell you what you can do to my groove. Alright, let you know, girl, you're looking good, you're satisfied. Alright, just move yourself and glide like a 747 and lose yourself in the sky among the clouds.
Come on. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team. I was born in the wrong decade. Folks, Golden Tan Salon's the official tanning salon of the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team, and the salon for you located in Cathedral Hill in St. Paul, and Steel Fitness, the official gym for the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team.
Welcome back to XL Energy Center. Start of the second quarter, Minnesota has a slim 1-goal lead, 3-2. Over the Rochester Nighthawks, who come into tonight's contest 7-7. 1 game back of 4th place New York, and we told you we'd keep tabs on the score of both the Buffalo-Chicago game and the New York-Philadelphia game, as Minnesota fans and Rochester fans are watching both those games, because with a Philadelphia loss and a Buffalo loss tonight and a win for Minnesota, that clinches the Eastern Division for the Swarm. Well, in order for Philadelphia to lose, New York must win, which is good for Rochester fans, because with a win here tonight for Rochester and a win for New York over Philadelphia, they will be tied, or rather a loss for New York. They will be tied for the 4th and final playoff spot in the East. So New York fans, as Minnesota works it in, Ryan Sharp off the left shoulder of Patrick O'Toole, and they bring it in back behind the crease. 17 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, just 8 for Minnesota, but the Swarm lead 3-2. A half minute in here to the second quarter. Sean Pollock works it around, sticks the Stick in his left hand, Ryan Ward. Looking inside for Sharp, spins around the defender, but his foot was in the crease, and a good job by Scott Evans to deny Ryan Sharp that opportunity. A stolen ball on the other end. Minnesota comes back with numbers. Good move inside. Patrick O'Toole stops Chad Culp. Well, you're seeing the prolific defense from both these goaltenders tonight. 3-2 the score. Minnesota leads. Shots on goal, Rochester 17, Minnesota 10. Arguably the two best goalies in the National Lacrosse League going at it as Nick Patterson makes another save against John Grant. Here's Sean Evans working it against the defense. Double team, gives it up to Grant. Receives a screen and roll, works it between the defenders, and he scores. John Grant gets his 44th goal of the season, and you can see why he was the MVP just a year ago. Splits 3 defensemen of Minnesota and knocks this game up at 3.
On the goal for the Nighthawks, assists go to number 15, Sean Evans, number 14, Matt McLeod. The goal goes to number 24, John Grant. That's enough goals tonight. Good night, John boy.
John Grant enters tonight's game as the second leading scorer in the National Lacrosse League. Scores his 44th goal of the season. He's just the 4th player in National Lacrosse League history to record 800 points. What a feat from the 6'2", 230-pound forward from Peterborough, Ontario. The 2007 MVP John Grant makes this a 3-3 game, 2 minutes in to this second quarter. Sean Williams has it. Crossfield pass ahead for Grant. Calmly works it back to Williams. Minnesota working a zone defense as John Grant fakes the pass to Williams. Now he has it. Still in his cradle. He faked me out too. Nice fake, Mr. Grant. Behind the back pass, beautiful inside, and stonewalled by Patterson was Williams, but the loose ball comes to Sean Evans. Quick reaction by Nick Patterson to stop the shot by Williams off the behind the back pass from Grant, and a sweet swim move in the corner. Trying to find the 5-hole was Scott Evans for his hat trick goal, but Patterson denies him, and Minnesota comes back with numbers. Over to John Sullivan, near side, and he slows it up for the offense with 12 minutes to play in the second quarter. This game knotted up at 3. Craig Point, one of the candidates for Rookie of the Year, works it around the defense, and Patrick O'Toole, did he stop it? Did he stop it? Yes, he did. Oh, Minnesota runners on the floor wanted a goal, but the referee was right on top of it. A good call to say no goal. Craig Point, one of the most prolific rookies in the National Lacrosse League this season. Him and a few others, Jordan Hall for New York, come to mind when you're talking about Rookie of the Year. 24 goals, 30 assists for Craig Point this season. 5'11", 218 from Brantford, Ontario. Craig Point can't connect there. Minnesota has the ball back with 11:15 in the first. A left-handed shot goes over the head of Patrick O'Toole, and that will be an over and back call against Minnesota. Just like in basketball, if you're not familiar with an over and back call in lacrosse, if the ball is in your zone and it caroms back over the line without one of your players touching it, it's called over and back. And that'll be a turnover as Scott Evans has it. Works against Colin Achenbach's defense, and Scott Evans already has a hat trick. Not even 4 minutes into the second quarter, Scott Evans scores his 3rd goal of the night, and he gives Rochester a 4-3 lead.
Penalty was called on the Swarm. It is dead due to the goal.
So Scott Evans making a bid for team MVP himself. Gets his 3rd goal of the night, his 41st of the season against the defense of Travis Hill. And Rochester takes a 4-3 lead as John Grant behind the back pass. Boy, he is so good with that behind the back pass. Stephen Hoare could not connect on his shot as Nick Patterson stops it with his left foot, but Rochester gets a fresh 30-second shot clock. Man-on-man defense, Grant backs his man down as he works it against Sullivan. John Sullivan, 6'2", 195. John Grant, 6'2", 230. And tempers flaring out on the carpet. Rochester knows how valuable this game is to them tonight. A loss, and they are virtually out of the playoff picture. And they are scoreboard watching tonight. Right now at halftime, Buffalo leads over Chicago 8-5. And also at halftime, New York in Philadelphia leads the Wings 5-3. We have our first penalty of the night called against Rochester. Sean Evans sits in the naughty box for 2 minutes. So Minnesota will have to go up against the best penalty killing unit in the National Lacrosse League. Rochester comes in with the best penalty killing unit at 68% in the National Lacrosse League, and here they go again. Stopping that offensive series by Minnesota as Steve Toll works it in between the lines for the Nighthawks. Rochester also first in the NLL in short-handed goals with 18 this season. So you'd almost think that power play or penalty kill, it doesn't matter. Good stop by Nick Patterson on Scott Evans. With 1:14 to go in the penalty kill for Rochester. It's a 9:30 mark. 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter as Minnesota has it now on the power play. 42 power play goals.
Tomorrow, go to greenlife.com.
In the regular season, Minnesota, that's good for 3rd in the National Lacrosse League, and they try to work it against the best penalty killing unit in the National Lacrosse League. There's a break in the action. We'll take one as well. 9:14 to go in the second quarter. Rochester leads 4-3. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 networks.
See who?
Suicide and peeling right in front of the net is Ovechkin, hoping it will come there.
Long shift here for Carter and Upshaw.
It's through the legs for him. Backhander score!
You have all won a free burrito. Guest services will be handing out Chipotle burrito bucks to all you cool cats shortly. To everybody else, you should have tried harder. I didn't see the effort from you. Hey folks, this game is brought to you by the all-new 2008 Dodge Nitro. Loaded with adrenaline, it's a bold alternative to today's midsize SUVs.
Hands across now for wants to shoot, does he score?
Burn, baby, burn.
Hands across now for Green, who gains the zone. Green flipped it across, curling with him now is Simmons. Wants to shoot, does he score?
What is this? Swarm still on the power play. Here we go.
All right, welcome back to XL Energy Center. Minnesota has the ball against the penalty kill once again for Rochester. And again, the Nighthawks stop the penalty or stop the power play by Minnesota.
One of those blue leg bands worn by the
26
Rochester
seconds
players,
left
probably
on the
something
penalty
they got
to
down the
Sean
street at
Williams,
Mayo
or Sean Evans rather.
Hands across now for Green.
And they work it inside to John Grant, who's bothered by a double team with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Backing down his man, John Grant hit the net. But for Minnesota, that was the outside of the net. 5 seconds left on the penalty kill. And the most prolific penalty-killing unit in the National Lacrosse League, well, they stop it once again. 68% coming into tonight, and they do it right there. Sean Pollock had a chance to wind and fire, but coming from behind out of the penalty box was Sean Evans. And Stephen Hoare has it for the Nighthawks. 8 minutes exactly to go in the second quarter. Rochester has retaken the lead 4-3. They dominate in shots on goal as well. 24 to just 12 shots for Minnesota. A push from behind, knocking Sean Evans to the floor. Gives Rochester the ball back and a fresh 30-second shot clock. Nick Inch works the defense against Scott Evans. They try to find Matt Lyons inside, but Minnesota comes away with the ball. Noah Talbot, one-on-one. And wisely decides to slow it up for his offense. Craig Point, crossfield pass, off the wall to Chad Culp. Works it against the defense of Sandy Chapman. Sean Pollock inside, a goal for Minnesota, yes! Sean Pollock finds Craig Point inside, over the shoulder of Patrick O'Toole, and with 7:14 to go in the second, tied at 4.
Not a bad goal there, Professor.
Well, Craig Point is back. Sean Pollock and Craig Point working a beautiful give and go. Point getting his 25th goal of the year, pulling the Swarm even in Pat O'Toole. That one went 5-hole, Rusty.
Scoring for the Swarm, number 9, Craig Point. The assists go to number 17, Sean Pollock, and 19, Chad Culp. We're back knotted at 4.
Well, from our vantage point up here, it appeared that it went over the head of Patrick O'Toole, but they say it went 5-hole. Craig Point, his 25th goal of the season. And we mentioned a candidate for Rookie of the Year. Sean Evans almost got his first goal of the night, but the loose ball comes out to Minnesota. Kyle Ross, 3-on-1. Smart play by the transition player for Minnesota. 6:33 to go here in the second quarter. 4-4 is the score. 25 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, just 13 for Minnesota. Update on the scores around the league as Minnesota works their offense around the perimeter, and 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Sticks it in his right hand, does Craig Point, but it gets knocked to the floor by the defenseman. And Marshall Abrams gives way to John Grant for Rochester. Just into the third quarter at Buffalo, the Bandits, as John Grant tries to go top shelf over Patterson. But Nick Patterson rises to the occasion, and Minnesota comes away with a loose ball. 9-5 is the Bandits' lead over the Shamrocks, and still at halftime in Philadelphia, New York leads the Wings 5-3. So we'll keep tabs on those scores. It's a 4-4 game here with just 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first half. Winding and firing was Sean Pollock. Loose ball out in front. Fighting forward is Hill, along with some Nighthawks. Ken Millen in the mix. And Ken Millen does come away with the loose ball. Scrappy play here in the first half from both teams. A defensive matchup at XL Energy Center this evening. Sean Evans, screen and roll, lines and fires. Oh my goodness. Nick Patterson had no chance on that one. Sean Evans, his first goal of the night. He and his brother combined for now 4 of the 5 Nighthawk goals, and it's 5-4 with 5 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the first half.
Scoring for Rochester, number 15, Sean Evans. Assists goes to number 51, Sean Williams, and number 32, Ken Millen.
So younger brother Sean Evans gets his 21st goal of the season at the 9:53 mark. And Rochester retakes the lead once again. 5-4, 4:45 to go here in this first half. Shots on goal. The Nighthawks 26, just 13 for Minnesota. And they knock that ball away from Sean Evans, and back comes Kyle Ross with numbers. 3-on-2, left side. And Andy Secor cannot corral the pass. Averaging nearly 6 points a game is Andy Secor, but he can't corral that pass. And Chris Schiller works it back for the Rochester Nighthawks. Williams has it in between the lines for Matt McLeod. They swing it to the far side. Scott Evans receives a screen. McLeod finds himself open, and a stolen pass in the middle by Colin Achenbach. Minnesota with the transition numbers. Travis Hill, 5-hole game tied again. Travis Hill scores his 3rd goal of the season. And this game is tied at 5.
How about the Swarm's transition game, Swarm fans? Travis Hill getting rewarded with his 3rd goal of the year. You have offense, you have defense, and you have the transition game, the guys that play both ways. And Travis Hill with his 3rd of the year. That knocks it up at 5, Rusty.
As Professor said, scoring for the Swarm, number 47, Travis Hill, and 1 assist goes to 27, Colin Achenbach. Another stick breaks for the Nighthawks.
Well, Colin Achenbach, you hear the fans cheering for him. That's because he's the only Minnesota-born player to play for the Swarm. Born about 30 miles south of here in a town called Apple Valley, Minnesota. He gets his 1st assist of the year on Travis Hill's 3rd goal of the season. And a back-and-forth affair from St. Paul as this game knotted up at 5. A timeout on the floor. 3:32 to go in this first half. 5-5 is the score. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
Of the Cass Clay Malt Cup giveaway. Lucky winners include everyone's seat over there in section 125, row 23. Congratulations, those lucky fans. Each one a Cass Clay Malt Cup courtesy of Cass Clay. Congratulations, as Cass Clay is a preferred ice cream of the Minnesota Swarm. Yeah, it's Disco Cam. Come on now. Make a move, Alex. Stand up, kid. Disco Cam. Let's see the disco moves. Yes!
The new band's craze. Listen to us. I'm sure you'll be amazed. Big fun to be had by everyone.
Apparently, they only did one dance in the 70s.
Sure they can be
Yes.
done. Young and old are doing it, I'm told. Just one try. And
Well, the playoffs are set, but the teams are not. The weekend of May 2nd through the 4th will be first-round divisional playoff action, and 3 teams in the National Lacrosse League have their positions set for the postseason. The final rosters, or the final playoff spot, rather, in the Western Division is up for grabs. It'll apparently more than likely go to Calgary, but everyone in the East still jockeying for position in the playoffs, as no one in the Eastern Division has clinched a spot as of tonight. Poked off the stick of John Grant, Minnesota 3-on-2. Ryan Cousins almost scores from the near side, but Patrick O'Toole is there to stop his 10th shot of the night. And just under 3 minutes to play here in the second quarter, Minnesota and Rochester are tied at 5. The shot and the rebound from the same man, Matt McLeod. He gets it back out to Matt Lyons, and they work it around for Scott Evans. McLeod now has it. Bounced in the air. Grant behind the back. Oh my goodness, he is so fast with those wrists. Just flicking the wrists behind his shoulder, almost scoring that goal on the opposite side of the net. He was on the left, almost scored it on the right. But a heads-up play by Nick Patterson keeps this game at 5 with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the second. Ryan Ward, bounce shot. Patrick O'Toole there for the save. And the rebound scooped up by Rochester. All ahead, all alone, Rochester, and a goal. Sean Evans gets his 2nd of the night. A beautiful full field pass by Steve Toll, and Rochester takes the lead once again. 6-5.
With the ball, the bang, the dang, diggy, 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 send the boogie, send up, drop the boogie. Ball with the ball, the bang, the dang, diggy, 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 send the boogie, send up, drop the boogie. Ball with the ball, the bang, the dang, diggy, 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 send the boogie, send up, drop the boogie.
Well, we mentioned how potent the Evans brothers are. They combine for 33% of the Rochester Nighthawks offense this season. 58 goals of the 175. They have 5 of Rochester's 6 goals here tonight. 6-5 is the Nighthawk lead. 1:15 to go here in the first half. Steve Toll over to Sean Williams. Inside, great passing. Can't connect his Evans. Sean, and Pacey comes away with the rebound. Man on man. Toll against Pacey. And again, good transition defense by Rochester. 1 minute to play here in this first half. 30 shots on goal for the Nighthawks as they are trying to find a fourth and final playoff position in the East. Swinging inside and a goal. Both teams precision passing, and the man who leads the Swarm in points gets his first goal of the night. Andy Secor ties this game at 6.
Chad Pope and Andy Secor working in tandem. Secor leads the team in points, and that's one of the reasons why. His 25th goal of the year, pulling the Swarm even, fans. What do you think of Andy Secor now?
Not it back at 6, scored for the Swarm. Number 21, Andy Secor, assist to 19, Chad Culp, and 12, Eric Pacey. Tie game.
40 seconds to go in the first half. Andy Secor tries to do his best John Grant impression. Marole comes away with the loose ball rebound. Pollock swings it around. 32 seconds looking inside for Marole, but a turnover against Minnesota. Just a behind-the-back flick by Andy Secor, who averages nearly 6 points per game. The forward from Hamilton, Ontario, making a name for himself, picked up in the dispersal draft by Minnesota from Portland. 15 seconds to go in this first half. Game tied at 6. Rochester has it with 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and I would not want to be Nick Patterson on that save from John Grant. Full field pass, goalie to goalie, and that's how the first half will come to a close. Frenetic pace at XL Energy Center. Both teams looking to jockey for playoff position. With a win here tonight, Rochester betters their chances of getting in the Eastern Division playoffs. Minnesota will have clinched a playoff spot with a win at XL Energy Center. It's halftime in Minnesota. 6-6 is the score. Rochester all over Minnesota in shots on goal, 31-18. The Nighthawks on the season, when tied at halftime, are 1-0. So we'll have to see what happens in the second half. When we come back, take a break, get some popcorn, get a drink, change the baby. Do what you got to do, but please come on back for second half action. 6-6 is the score. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks. Take a break. We will be back.
He's listening. Pregame.
He was born in Detroit, Michigan on a cold, rainy day. Born in 1955. Drafted 25th overall by Boston in 1974. 426 games in the WHA. 929 in the NHL. Hartford, Philly, Detroit.
What was his last year?
He also played for the Houston Aeros, by the way. Last year was 94-95. WHA. Yes. Nick Nelson is
Sounds
here.
like
losers. They're both winners. Congratulations, they have each won disco CDs at Postgame Fine Folks at 201 just because we haven't had much luck. Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome the South Coast Dance Academy for the intermission short program.
I look forward to seeing you at camp this summer.
From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think waste management.
Test.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Nighthawks are back on the field. And please welcome back your Minnesota Swarm for half 2 tonight's game. Send it down to the professor on the bench for the second half boost presented by Boost Energy Drink. Professor?
All right, Rusty, thanks a lot. Here with assistant coach Derek Moffitt. Derek, offensively, what do you think about the first half performance?
You know what, we got to move the ball a little bit better, get the ball low and start working the plays that we want to work. We're holding the ball a little too much.
And defensively, this team's got some talent, but you guys are sticking it to them.
We're doing a pretty good job. I mean, we got to tighten it up a little bit more, call out those switches. We'll be fine.
So tied at 6, good spot to be in for the second half.
We're not behind.
There you go, Rusty. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Welcome back to XL Energy Center. Just about ready to start the third quarter. Tied up at 6. Shots on goal favor the Nighthawks 31-18. And before the game, last year's 2007 Coach of the Year, Ed Camo, said, quote, "We're taking this game like it's a playoff game for us." He is not taking anything for granted because with a loss here tonight, Rochester virtually eliminated from the playoff picture as New York is still leading in the third quarter over Philadelphia, now 8-5. So with a New York win tonight and a Rochester loss, detrimental to the Nighthawks, that would be for their playoff positioning. Well, we're underway here in the second half, and the number 3 goal-scoring team in the National Lacrosse League, the Rochester Nighthawks, with 175 goals coming into tonight's game, have it on offense with John Grant. That shot goes into the crowd. A lucky fan gets a souvenir, and 30 seconds into the first portion of the second half, the third quarter, we're still tied at 6. Well, Nick Patterson, early in that first quarter, 2 early goals scored against the Wins leader in the National Lacrosse League. He had some ailments because he was appearing to be injured, being attended to as Craig Point spins on Patrick O'Toole. But he swallows that one up in his midsection, and Chris Schiller comes away with it for Rochester. He appears to be okay now after being attended to twice early in that first quarter by the team trainers. So the goalie matchup that was so prominent to preview this game is still intact. Patterson and Patrick O'Toole. Chad Culp backing down his man, spins right. Good defense by Sandy Chapman to knock that out of the cradle of Chad Culp. And Rochester gets it back. 13:45 left in this third quarter, 6-6 is the score. Well, Buffalo has a commanding lead over the Chicago Shamrocks in Buffalo with 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. They lead 12-6. So it appears Minnesota will not clinch the Eastern Division tonight because they need a win and a Philadelphia and Buffalo loss tonight. And Buffalo has doubled up Chicago so far. Scott Evans already has 3 goals, zips that one past the left leg of Patterson, and the loose ball is scooped up by Ken Millen. He works it around the defense. Left-handed shot by Sean Williams. They're going to say an illegal hit called against Rochester, and so that will be Minnesota ball. 13-13 left in the third. 6-6 is our score, and Dan Marole brings it up for Minnesota. Over into the corner now. Jake Reed, the defense against Minnesota, working it inside. Patrick O'Toole rebound in front of his right knee, and some pushing and shoving. Sean Pollock And Reggie Thorpe getting into it, but no gloves drop. Play resumes. Rochester 3-3 on the road this season. Looking to get a big win at XL Energy Center. Sean Evans' shot kicked aside by Nick Patterson. 12:30 to go in the third. Sixes. Ryan Sharp along the near side. Great transition defense once again for the Nighthawks, and Minnesota has to slow it down. Stopping that shot with his body was Pat Kugavin. He might feel that one tomorrow, and Secor comes away with the loose ball. Screen and roll. Works against the defense of Stephen Hoare. Back behind the crease, and he finds the back of the net. No, they wave it off. Patrick O'Toole got lucky there. Andy Secor tried the Superman goal, running from his left to his right. Tried to slip it in behind Patrick O'Toole. But the referee says his foot was on the crease line. So no goal.
Where you jump over the back of the net, and apparently the referee thought his foot was in the crease, a crease violation. Didn't see it from here.
That move created in the 1970s, correct?
Sean Williams shot errant. And Matt Lyons works it on the far side against the 2007 Defensive Player of the Year. Behind the back pass, Sean Williams. And the loose ball is scooped up in the crease by Nick Patterson. 11:24 to go in the third. 6-6 is the score. Rochester the lead in shots on goal, 34-20. And we haven't even talked about how good these Rochester Nighthawks were just a year ago. The 2007 National Lacrosse League champions. They have so many more trophies to put in their trophy case. Rory McDade slides across the carpet. Patrick O'Toole, the loose ball pickup in the crease. They were the 2007 champions, their second overall championship as a franchise, their first one back in '97. They got the MVP, John Grant. They got the transition player of the year, Steve Toll. They got the coach of the year, Ed Camo. And yes, they even got the equipment manager of the year. Ryan Gage was the National Lacrosse League's equipment manager. Nick Inch, fire, rebound Nick Inch, and his shot goes wide. Boy, that ball almost squeaked past O'Toole on Inch's first shot attempt. Now Scott Evans in the near corner. So dominant, these Rochester Nighthawks a year ago, defeating Arizona. Bounce shot, John Grant, and a goal! It got past Patterson. He lost it. John Patterson flicked it towards Nick Patterson, and it just trickled past the line for a goal. Grant's second of the night, and Rochester retakes the lead 7-6.
You cannot win. You may throw me down, but I'll rise again. The more you say, the more I defy you. So get out of my face. Whoa, yeah. You cannot stop.
Oh, big shot and a goal again. John Grant, back-to-back goals for the second leading goal scorer in the National Lacrosse League. And the Nighthawks have opened up their biggest lead of the game, 8-6 with 9:49 left in the third quarter. John Grant scores his 45th and 46th goals of the season, 33 seconds apart, and Rochester has come out firing in this second half. 8-6, Rochester opens up a 2-goal lead, 38 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, 22 for Minnesota, and there's 9:12 left in this third quarter. Secor fakes the shot, moves around the defenders, left-handed shot, and the rebound comes out to Ryan Ward, hampered by Schiller. Man-on-man defense. Craig Point offers a pick and roll, but Ward just wastes time off the shot clock, dumps it into the zone. And Scott Evans has it for the Nighthawks. Well, so quick and so potent, this Nighthawk offense coming into tonight's contest, third in the league in goals with 175. And Ryan Cousins comes away with the loose ball. Ahead to Sharp, 3-on-2, but the man they call Sharpie, not precise on that pass pickup, and it's scooped away by Ken Millen. Ahead to Hoare. Slows it down for his offense. Has some room in the middle, and Patterson stuffs that one with his left elbow, and there's a timeout on the floor. So both goals scored in the third quarter have been Rochester goals. The game was tied at 6. It's now 8-6 with 8 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the third. We'll take a break and come back. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
You like a winner of a $50 gift certificate to Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub, courtesy of Tom Reed himself. Congratulations from Tom and the Minnesota Swarm. Folks, I'm over here in section 107. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew, is it your birthday? Just say yes.
Well.
Just say yes. You can just say yes.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, it's his birthday. Congratulations. Over here, it's Austin's 9th birthday as well. They're part of the Birthday Buzz package. And over here, it's Kevin's birthday. Kevin, how old are you?
10.
He's absolutely right. So if you want to get the coolest birthday celebration at a Minnesota Swarm game, experience the Birthday Buzz. It's the coolest way to celebrate your next birthday. Go to mnswarm.com for Birthday Buzz details.
$8:15 to go in the third. Nighthawks 8, Swarm 6. First half stats. And we talked about the Evans brothers combining for 6 of Rochester's first 16 points in that first half. Minnesota had 17. The most prominent stat line among Swarm players was Chad Culp. He had 4 assists. Leading goal scorer for Minnesota in the first half was Dan Merle. He had 2. Scott Evans had a hat trick in that first half. It was knotted up at 6, but 2 second half goals, 33 seconds apart by last year's MVP, John Grant, makes this an 8-6 Rochester lead. Scoring update around the league. New York at Philadelphia, Chicago at Buffalo. Both these teams watching both those games with 9 minutes and 28 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Buffalo now only has a 3-goal lead, 12-9. Chicago has cut their lead from 6 down to 3, and Philadelphia has come storming back against the Titans with 9 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the final quarter there. Philadelphia trails by only 1, 9-8. Minnesota trails by 2, 8-6. Scoop shot, Patrick O'Toole to save, and they're going to call a hold against Rochester. Ken Millen was already sitting in the penalty box, and he gets some company. Sandy Chapman, 5'9", 180 pounds from Toronto, Ontario, 15 points on the season, sits in the penalty box along with Ken Millen, making it a double man advantage for the Swarm. 7:56 to go. Take another look at the penalty. You saw it on the left side of your screen. Chapman just tackled his man right out in front of O'Toole. Got called for the hold. So for 1 minute and 41 seconds, Minnesota's number 3 power play in the National Lacrosse League will have a chance up 2 men. Culp, Secor. Culp, crossfield pass, inside, no. Holds on to it, Chad Culp. Can't corral the pass, into the corner, he scoops it up. Secor in the slot, behind the back. Secor swings around and O'Toole is there. Minnesota gets the loose ball back. Precision passing, Chad Culp, just what they talked about at halftime. And the number 2 saves leader in the National Lacrosse League, rather number 3. Makes a huge stop there for Rochester. Well, not even the #1 penalty killing unit in the National Lacrosse League is good enough to stop 5 offensemen for Minnesota. They've done so far as Patrick O'Toole stands tall once again off Craig Point's laser. His pass ahead to Schiller is knocked off his cradle, but Schiller gets it back. Up ahead, Scott Evans. They do lead the National Lacrosse League in shorthanded goals with 18. Rochester, 68% on the penalty kill, but they're down 2 men and up by 2 goals. Scott Evans pays for his efforts along the boards, and Kyle Ross works it ahead for the Swarm. 13 seconds to go in the double man advantage, 6:25 in the quarter, as the Nighthawks have an 8-6 lead. 5-on-3 for the next 3 seconds. Shot over the head. Ryan Cousins will scoop up the loose ball, and Ken Millen comes out of the penalty box. Passing inside, and O'Toole, spread eagle in front of Chad Culp, stops that one. Rochester weathers the double man down storm, and now they have 6 seconds to kill the 2-man advantage Minnesota had. Boy, what a penalty killing unit that is as time expires on the second penalty against Sean Evans. And we're back to full strength with 5 minutes and 46 seconds left in this third quarter. Big hit in the corner. Working it around, Stephen Hoare against Colin Achenbach. And Hoare takes the stick away from Achenbach. Scrum on the floor, some pushing and shoving. Again, it's Pollock and McLeod. McLeod, 6 feet, 186 pounds from Owen Sound, Ontario. Pollock, well, he's not as big and not as tall. 5'10", 175 from Wallaceburg, Ontario. Going at it a little bit. No harm, no foul. Play resumes. Rochester has a 2-goal lead. That shot off the post by Grant. But a hold called against Rochester, turning the ball over to Minnesota. 5 minutes and 14 seconds left in the third quarter. Shots on goal favor the Nighthawks 39-28, as does the score, 8-6. McDade up top for Ward. Crossfield against the defense of Chapman. Swings it around, does Craig Point. Switches off on the defenders, and his pass stolen by Bill Greer. McDade and Greer going after the loose ball. Advantage Greer. Scoring update, 7 minutes, 12 seconds to go in the fourth. Over in Philadelphia, New York leads 10-8. Opened up a 2-goal lead once again, and with 3 minutes and 17 seconds left in the fourth, Philadelphia still has a 3-goal lead over Chicago at 12-9. So we'll keep you updated on those games as that ball goes into the netting of Nick Patterson, and with 4 minutes and 13 seconds to go here in this third quarter, Chad Culp works it against the defense of Matt McLeod. Spin moves, not having it, and O'Toole hoovers that one. No rebound for O'Toole, ahead to Hoare. Defensively sound Rochester has been in this second half, and Nick Patterson stops Hoare from getting his first goal of the night. Both goalies now really stepping up their play, as Patterson has only allowed 2 goals in this second half. O'Toole none, and that's why the Nighthawks have a 2-goal lead. 3 minutes, 28 seconds. Minnesota turns the ball over. Chapman has it for the Nighthawks. Scott Evans, crossfield, left-handed. John Grant can't connect, and it's an over and back call against the Nighthawks. 3 minutes, 11 seconds remains in the third quarter. Minnesota trying to remain perfect at home. They've outscored their opponents at XL Energy Center 81-58. They are 6-0 while in St. Paul. And with 3 minutes to go in the third, they trail Rochester, who is fighting, clawing, and dying to get that final playoff spot in the East. 8-6. There's a break in the action. So just under 3 minutes to play here in the third quarter. We'll take a break. Rochester has a 2-goal lead over Minnesota. And you're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Network.
Somebody has won a Pablo Cruz record. Ladies and gentlemen, that's vinyl. And every kid here has absolutely no idea why that guy has an oversized compact disc. Congratulations. Time right now to talk about what's on tap. Brought to you by Bud Light. Swarm are back home next Friday, April 25th, 7 p.m. They face off against the Chicago Shamrocks. That is what's on tap with Bud Light. Give me some disco, Cam. Yes.
Just under 3 minutes to play in the third quarter. Rochester has the ball and the lead. 8 goals to Minnesota's 6. 40 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, just 29 for Minnesota, and Patrick O'Toole has been perfect thus far in this second half. Shot over the head of Patterson, loose ball out to the near circle. Ryan Sharp comes away with it for Minnesota. Transition the other way, 3-on-2. Rochester can't get out fast enough. Sharp has it around the defenders. He shoots and he scores. Ryan Sharp gets Minnesota on the board here in the second half. And they cut the Rochester lead back down to 1. 8-7, 2:23 to go in the third.
Big one for the Swarm, Professor.
Ryan Sharp is the man they call Sharpie. He's among the hardest working guys in the Swarm. His 9th goal of the year, pulling the Swarm within 1. That means the Swarm fans are going to make a difference here, fans. Let's go.
Well, there's still a lot of lacrosse yet to play.
Minnesota, number 26, Ryan Sharp, all by himself. Sharp, unassisted, pulls the Swarm within 1.
There's still a lot of lacrosse yet to play, 1 quarter in fact. And as I say that, Scott Evans wants to put this game away before the fourth quarter even starts. His 4th goal of the night. Rather make it a hat trick goal. His brother has 3, now he has 3. Check that, Scott Evans has 4. So Scott Evans' 4th goal of the night. And the lead back up to 2 for the Rochester Nighthawks, 9-7.
Shame on, don't get fooled again. Answering back for Rochester, unassisted, number 19, Scott Evans.
You get those Evans brothers confused. They're so good. They might as well be one player. They are fantastic. Out on that floor as John Grant works it behind the crease for Rochester. Behind the back pass, can't connect with Ken Millen. And it caroms into the near corner where Millen will pick it up with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Sean tries to find Grant inside. No goalie or goal hit on that pass intended for John Grant. Shot clock violation. Minnesota has the ball. 1:10 left in the third. Rochester back up to a 2-goal lead, 9-7. Well, I was saying before that goal by Scott Evans that there's a lot of lacrosse yet to play, but if it comes down to overtime, Minnesota has the advantage. They are 4-0 in overtime games thus far this season. and 1-0 versus Rochester in overtime games against them. 3-on-1 the other way. Sharpie, right side. And Patrick O'Toole kicks that one away. Eric Pacey attempting his third goal of the year. And O'Toole steps off the floor for an extra attacker with 20 seconds left in this third quarter. They're holding for the last shot. 16 seconds on the game clock, 9 on the shot clock. Scooped out and into the crowd. 12.8 remains in the third. Minnesota back on January 26th went to New York to take on the Nighthawks. They defeated them in overtime on a Sean Pollock game-winning goal. 18-17 was the final. Minnesota has a 4-0 record in overtime games this season. Although Rochester leads the season, or rather leads the overall series versus Minnesota, 5-4. 5 wins, 4 losses to Minnesota over the course of their games played. 10 seconds remains in the third. Rochester going to have the last shot. 9-7, the Nighthawks lead. Grant, stick it in the left hand. Tries to find Sean Williams. 1 second left, and Patterson holds on. So Minnesota will head into the fourth quarter with a 2-goal deficit. Rochester clinging to their playoff lives. A win tonight, and they are still hopeful for the Eastern Division postseason. We'll take a break and come back with fourth quarter action. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
Make a big noise playing in the street. Gonna be a big man someday. Got mud on your face, big disgrace. Kicking your can all over the place. We will rock you. We will rock you. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouting in the street. You're gonna take all the world someday. You got blood on your face, a big disgrace. Waving your banner all over the place. We will rock you. Sing it out. We will rock you. Buddy, you're an old man, bleeding with your eyes, gonna make you zombie someday. You got mud on your face, big disgrace. Somebody better put your bag into your place. Singing, we will rock you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team. Golden Tan Salon, the official tanning salon of the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team, and the salon for you located on Cathedral Hill. And also Steel Fitness, the official gym of our Bud Light Swarm Performance Team.
Set for the fourth quarter. XL Energy Center, the site, St. Paul, Minnesota. B2 Networks coverage, Marcus D. 3 quarters are in the books. Rochester leads 9-7. And Ryan Sharp in the penalty box to start this fourth quarter for the next minute and 48 seconds. Scoring on a power play goal early in the first half. Rochester already has one. We'll see what they can do up a man to start this fourth quarter. Sean Evans ahead to Grant. Sean Evans off the boards, collects the loose ball. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Williams, Grant's going to have to wind and fire. Does, hits the back of the net off the rebound, and the loose ball goes to Millen, but a shot clock violation against Rochester. 30 seconds into this fourth quarter, Rochester has a 9-7 lead. Playoffs on the line for both teams. It appears Buffalo will advance against Chicago tonight. 44 seconds remain in that fourth quarter. Their lead is now 13-9. So Minnesota will not be able to clinch first place in the Eastern Division tonight. And if they want to clinch a playoff spot in the East, 3 seconds left in the shot clock. They just fire it into the corner to waste time. Rochester will have the ball. Stephen Hoare works it up ahead for the Nighthawks. If they want to clinch a playoff spot at home and remain perfect at the X, they're going to have to come back from a 2-goal deficit. Rochester leads 9-7, 23 seconds left on the power play as Sean Williams works it around. Fake shot, pass outside, can't corral it, is Millen, but it gets the loose ball. Williams, 3 seconds left. Patterson kicks that one aside, and it's over and back. 11 seconds remains on the power play for Rochester. Another penalty kill for Minnesota, it will appear, unless Dan Marol loses it somehow, but Pollock has it now with 1 second left. And that's a penalty kill for Minnesota as Ryan Sharp runs to the bench in place of an offensive runner. 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, still 9-7. A scant offensive second half. After 12 combined goals between both teams in the first half, only 4 scored in this second half. 2 by Grant in the third quarter, 1 by Scott Evans for Rochester. And the lone Minnesota goal scored at the 12:37 mark by Ryan Sharp makes this a 9-7 Rochester lead. So calm is John Grant with the ball. He works it in his cradle, gives it ahead to his offenseman. Here's a shot inside. Matt Lyons over the head of Patterson. And the loose ball is going to be fought for and won by Hoare. Minnesota already had 4 runners back on defense. Now they get their 5th as Rochester has it on the far circle. 12-12 to go in the fourth. 9-7 is the lead. And Grant fires a shot from the slot and misses wide left. .45 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, just 31 for Minnesota. But they have the ball trailing by 2. Ryan Ward comes across the defense, but Patrick O'Toole is there. And Marshall Abrams now works it up for the Nighthawks. Sean Evans, so quick with his stick around the defense, double teamed, finds McLeod and dishes it off to Scott Evans. Around the defense, so strong, Patterson there for the save. 11:30 to go in the fourth. Eastern Division playoff seedings on the line for both teams. Minnesota can clinch a playoff spot with a win here tonight, but they have to come back from 2 to do it. Rochester just looking to get into the playoffs after winning everything a year ago. Left-handed shot, top corner goal. What a precision goal by Andy Secor. 11-11 to go in the fourth. And the lead down to 1 for Rochester.
Check out Andy Secor with the absolute cannon. Another 100-mile-an-hour shot past Pat O'Toole. His 26th goal of the year, pulling the Swarm one more time within 1 goal. Let's go, Swarm fans. Swarm needs you. Andy Secor with the goal. Here we go.
Scoring that goal, number 21, Andy Secor. Assist to number 17, Sean Pollock. Number 9, Crick Point.
Nine to 8. Rochester lead down to 1. 46 shots for the Nighthawks, 34 for Minnesota. Down to a knee. 18 seconds left is McDade. He gets it ahead to Pollock. In between the corner defense. O'Toole with the save. Greer. Sean Williams sets it up. back and forth. The lead change. John Grant has it for Rochester. If you're Minnesota, you're almost smart to double team John Grant as he comes across the crease, knocked to the carpet. And it's a crease violation against John Grant. 5 minutes into the fourth, Rochester still clinging to their lead. Now 9-8. As Chad Culp loses it into his own bench, and it will be Rochester ball when we come back. 9 minutes, 55 seconds to go. A 1-goal lead for Rochester. 9-8 is the score. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks. We'll take a break and we will be back. For the Great Waters Brewery fan of the game, I'm over here, section 105, along with tonight's lucky winner, the Great Waters Brewery gift certificate. It's the lovely Erica Wayman. Erica, Swarmer down by a goal, less than 10 minutes. What's the key for them to get the victory?
Get a few more goals and get ahead of the Nighthawks.
It's just that simple. Give it up for her. That kind of knowledge. She's heading over to Great Waters. Here we go.
Scott Evans has it for the Rochester Nighthawks as we come back. 9:40 to go in the fourth. Rochester leads 9-8. And O'Toole running off the floor for a delayed penalty call against Minnesota. The extra attacker comes on. It is 6-4. Sean Williams bounce shot wide left. 3 seconds left on the shot clock. Pass inside, and Sean Evans puts it away with 1 second left on the shot clock. Sean Evans corralled the laser pass from the left wing and just slipped it past Patterson, the extra attacker, effective for Rochester. And it's a 2-goal lead again for the Nighthawks. 10-8 with 9:24 to go in the game.
Knee. Number 15, Sean Evans, assist to number 14, Matt McLeod, and 51, Sean Williams. Inch across the line.
So Sean and Scott Evans have combined for 7 of Rochester's 10 goals. That was Sean's 3rd of the night. And it opens up a 2-goal lead for Rochester once again as Ward finds point inside, paying for his efforts. Good hit by Abrams, and a shot clock violation called against the Swarm. 8:49 to go in the game. Swarm's 6-0 record at home on the line. Rochester trying to find the last playoff spot in the East. And there's an unofficial final in Philadelphia. New York has defeated the Wings 11-8. So New York, with their playoff hopes on the line, come away with a big win against the Philadelphia Wings. Patterson with the save there. Loose ball scooped up by Evans. Fresh 30 for the Nighthawks. Behind the crease to his brother Scott. Finding John Grant, sliding for the save. Grant picks up the loose ball and finds in the corner Ken Millen for the behind the back pass. Now Sean Evans has it. Bothered by Kyle Ross. Pick and roll with McLeod. Evans still works it up top. Now Grant has it in the near corner. Around his defender. Good defense by Minnesota. Behind the back pass once again. 8 seconds left on the shot clock for Rochester. Swinging inside, trying to find Grant. Loose ball rebound comes to Minnesota as Grant hits the deck. Colin Achenbach back the other way for Minnesota. Crossfield pass, 7:38 to go in the game, 10-8. Rochester leads by 2. Shots on goal, 49 for the Nighthawks, 35 for the Swarm. Marol, bothered by Kugavin. Crossfield pass, and Patrick O'Toole just steps right in front of the shot attempt by Andy Secor, and he gets it ahead to Hoare. A veteran move by Patrick O'Toole just to come out on that shot and stand tall against Secor, and Grant winds. Good save by the NLL save leader Nick Patterson, and the rebound comes out to Sean Williams. Around the defense, over the head of Patterson is Matt Lyons' shot, and that lands on top of the net on the back of the crease, and Minnesota will have the ball with 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go. 10-8 is the Nighthawk lead. So with New York already winning and Rochester a game back of the Titans for the 4th and final playoff spot in the East, before tonight's contest, they have to go and play New York next week for a chance at the 2008 playoffs after winning the Champions Cup last year. Grant up ahead to Sean Williams. Achenbach with the defense on him, switches with John Sullivan. Crossfield pass, Evans works it to the middle. 14 seconds left on the shot clock. He works it all the way around and up ahead to Sean Evans, or Williams rather. Trying to dump it down, finding Grant behind the crease. He runs it out to the near circle. 4 seconds left on the shot clock, and this will be a waste for John Grant and his Rochester Nighthawks as they just want to tick this clock down with a 2-goal lead. 10-8, smart play by the Nighthawks. They lead by 2, just under 6 minutes to play in Minnesota's perfect at-home record. Marol against Hoare. Off to Pollock. Around the defensive Hoare, bouncing shot, Patrick O'Toole. Only has allowed 2 goals thus far in this second half. Patrick O'Toole has been the better goal minder thus far this evening. Number 1 and number 2, rather number 2 and 1 and number 3 in saves. Patterson versus O'Toole, and number 3 has gotten the better of number 1 thus far. Patterson with the save against Grant. Rebound to McLeod. 5 minutes even to go in the game. 10-8, Rochester leads. 51 shots on goal for the Nighthawks, 37 for Minnesota. Good screen and roll for the Nighthawks. Bouncing shot, loose ball, and Patterson scoops it up with his claw. Rochester set an effective pick and roll to get it right out in front of Patterson. But the 5'11" goalie from Vancouver, British Columbia, stopped that shot and maintains his team's 2-goal deficit. Ryan Ward works it inside off the head of Reggie Thorpe. And Patrick O'Toole gets it ahead to Greer. Over 4 minutes to play, exactly 4:10 to go in the 4th. Rochester has a 2-goal lead. Well, after 12 combined goals in that first half, Patterson, no rebound there. These teams have combined for just 6 goals in a quarter and a half. And with just under 4 minutes to play in the game, Marol has it for Minnesota. Swings it around. McDade in the corner. Secor with the screen. Knocked to the carpet is McDade, and that will be a holding penalty called against Rochester. 3:35 to go in the game. Rochester leads 10-8. We'll take a break, and we will come back. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks.
On the Nighthawks, number 23, Stephen Hoare. 2 minutes for holding. League. Say it with me. Take a seat. Folks, here what you've been missing on Sirius Satellite Radio. Get the best in news, talk, entertainment, 100% commercial-free music and sports programming, including the National Lacrosse League, as well as the NFL, NBA, NASCAR, college basketball, and more. Sirius Satellite Radio, the best radio on radio. Everything else falls short.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!" I want you to get up right now.
Play for the Swarm, number 3 in the National Lacrosse League, against the number 1 penalty killing unit in the NLL. Ryan Ward swings it around. Inside, Ward can't corral the pass. 3:20 to go in the game. 10-8, Rochester leads. Minnesota gets it back. Fresh 32nd. Nope. They keep it ticking down. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Good steal. Stephen Toll using his speed all the way past the defenders, and he gets it wisely back to Chris Schiller to slow some clock to kill the penalty and the play clock. 1:20 to go in the penalty. 2:54 in the game. Rochester with the ball. 10-8. They lead. Grant methodically around 2 defenders. Stick in his right hand. Cradles it left. Swings it around. Tries to scoop in between the defense. Bouncing shot into the net. Shot clock violation. 1:05 to go in the penalty. 2:39 to go in the game. Minnesota trails by 2. The 2007 champions trying to find the 4th and final playoff spot in the East. Take on New York next week, who has beat Philadelphia tonight 11-8. Is the final from Philly. Minnesota has 42 seconds left on their power play. Moreau lines and fires. And O'Toole has been nothing but brilliant here in the second half. All the way, Stephen Toll all alone. And that bite me the nail in the coffin. Stephen Toll, his 7th goal of the year. Last year's transition player of the year, and you can see why. Faked right, went left. Rochester.
So number 17, Steve Toll. Assistant number 39, Pat O'Toole.
Well, that might put the nail in the coffin for the perfect season at home for Minnesota. Up by 3 goals. That goal scored at the 12:56 mark. Just under 2 minutes to play here in the 4th. And 11 seconds left on the penalty kill for Rochester. That's another league-leading shorthanded goal. And the rebound is nullified by Patrick O'Toole. The veteran netminder leads the league in goals against average, leads the league in minutes played, was the defensive player of the week just a week ago. 3rd in the NLL in saves. And he is showing why he is one of the most prominent goalies in the National Lacrosse League with his play here in the second half. Patterson, full field pass over the head of his transition player. And time ticking down for the Swarm. 1 minute remains in the 4th quarter. Rochester back to full strength. They lead by 3. Scott Evans, 4 goals in tonight's game. John Sullivan in the corner. And they stop play. Ed Camo wants to talk it over. 50 seconds remains in the game. Rochester leads 11-8. We'll take a break and come back. You're watching the National Lacrosse League on the B2 networks.
That right, Marcus.
$50 remains in the contest. Rochester will have the ball coming out of the timeout. 54 shots on goal for the Nighthawks. Too much for Patterson to handle this evening. Only 39 shots against Patrick O'Toole, and he has been brilliant in this game. Schiller in between the lines. Ahead for Lions. Scott Evans. Scoop shot. 2 seconds left on the shot clock. Loose ball. Picked up. John Grant against 3 Swarm runners. It's still loose and finally picked up by Schiller. To the carpet goes Schiller. And now Sullivan finds the carpet. Grant does the honors and almost had a one-on-one opportunity against Patterson, but gets called for the push in the back, and Grant will have to sit the remaining 19 seconds of this game with his team leading by 3. Well, Rochester will do what no team has done in the 2008 season, and that's beat Minnesota at XL Energy Center. Minnesota fans watching that Philadelphia game closely. New York won. Philadelphia is now tied with Buffalo at 9-6 for second place in the Eastern Division. Scoop shot, 10 seconds left, rebound to Ward. Scoop shot, nope, off the Patterson or off O'Toole, and the rebound's kicked out over the half field line, and that's how the game will end. Rochester, for the first time this year, has given Minnesota a loss at home. A huge win for the Rochester Nighthawks, who keep their playoff hopes alive with just 1 game remaining in their season. 11 goals for the Nighthawks, 8 for Minnesota, 55 shots on goal for Rochester, 40 for the Swarm. And the Eastern Division still up in the air. Let's send it down to the field.
Tickets. Thank you, Swarm fans. Once again, thanks again for your attendance, folks. Hope you had a wonderful time. Remember, Fan Appreciation Night next Friday, April 25th. Swarm will battle the Chicago Shamrocks at 7 p.m. And as mentioned, still in excellent shape to pick up their first ever home playoff game. Don't forget, folks, Bud Light, Jack FM are presenting the post-game party being held on top of the River Center ramp. Live music featuring Christy Love and you-know-who. Plus food, beverages, members of the Bud Light Swarm Performance Team stop on the River Center ramp after the game for a wild viewing party. Partied up, Bud Light, Jack FM, the Wild, and the Swarm. Let's send it down right now to the Professor, who's standing by with Swarm Captain Ryan Cousins. Professor at center field.
I'm here with Ryan Cousins. Ryan, I guess you can't win them all at home. You guys played tough, though.
Yeah, it was definitely a disappointing night for us. We wanted to go undefeated at home. It obviously didn't happen. We lost against a good team tonight. We didn't play our best, and unfortunately we lost. And we got to show up every single quarter to win these games, and we didn't tonight.
Oftentimes you learn more from your mistakes than from your victories, and you guys have had some trouble at home, and you've been able to come back at the end. Maybe you can learn something from this one.
Yeah, the bottom line is we have to play all 4 quarters, and even a lot of the games that we've won at home, we haven't played all 4 quarters. We've had to battle back. This is a learning experience that, like I said, play the 4 quarters and we'll win the game.
Next Friday night, last regular season home game, chances are hopefully you'll get a home playoff game.
Yeah, we're definitely looking to get a home playoff game, and we're looking to lay a beating on Chicago next Friday. So make sure you guys come out, bring whoever else you can too. We want to fill this place, fill it for the playoffs too.
Thanks a lot. Ryan Cousins fans, Rusty, back up to you.
Thank you much.
11-8, the final from XL Energy Center. Rochester does what no team has done before to the Minnesota Swarm in 2008, and that's beat them at home. Rochester improves to 4-3 on the road. Minnesota 6-1 rather at XL Energy Center, and a huge, monumental win for the Rochester Nighthawks. They improved to 8-7. And there is now a three-way tie below Minnesota in that Eastern Division. Minnesota falls to 9-5. And Philadelphia, with their loss to New York tonight, and Buffalo with their win over the Shamrocks this evening, and New York defeating Philadelphia, all sit at 9-6. 8-7, the Nighthawks record after tonight's contest. They have one more game. They take on the New York Titans next week. Minnesota will play Friday night Chicago. The Shamrocks come to town to take on the Minnesota Swarm, and then the next night, Saturday night, they go to Chicago for back-to-back games against the Shamrocks to close their 2008 season. What a game at Target Center. The Evans brothers, fantastic. And the Rochester Nighthawks defeat the Minnesota Swarm 11-8. This has been a production of the National Lacrosse League on the B2 Networks. Again, the final score for the final time, Rochester 11, Minnesota 8. We thank you for listening. I'm Marcus D, saying keep it real.